Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live, friends. It is September the 8th, year 2021. We're getting very close to ending our summer and starting the fall weather here in the US. Welcome. I'm hoping everyone is doing well, and I'm going to introduce, actually, April, why don't you introduce yourself today, since you're here by yourself?
So I'm April, and been on this panel for a little bit now, right? We met one day, I had a question, and voila, magic happened. I was here. So I am a professional counselor by day, and I'm also a spiritual teacher and healer by night, on the side, a psychic medium, and here to try to offer as much wisdom as we can tonight.
Thank you, April. And you have learned quite a few modalities of healing as well, right? Like Reiki, and you do, is it channeling or medium, psychic,
Yeah.
Psychic reading, right? So
yeah. So what happened with all of that was it was kind of like a synchronicity type thing. So just about the time that I was getting strong enough to leave an abusive marriage, my mom's love for psychic fairs kicked into overdrive. And my mom started taking me to all these psychic fairs where they all started telling me that I was psychic. And I didn't believe it. I thought it was crazy. Like, okay. So then, but I had an interest in it. I always kind of had an interest in it. I always kind of thought it was really super cool. My favorite show growing up was Bewitched, which is a magic show. What is that movie? I want to say Cat Mountain. Can't remember the name. It's not Iron Mountain. It's a show where the two brother and sister, they could talk telepathically to each other. So I always had an interest in it, but just as I was getting strong enough to leave that marriage, my mom's interest really peaked up, and we started going to all these fairs, and she bought me my tarot cards. And I thought, okay, well, I started practicing with them, and the mediumship, the channeling part, that just actually happened to me one day. I didn't know I had that ability. It's something that just happened to somebody from the other side came to me. But the reason I have so many degrees and certificates is because I was on a mission to heal myself. I was on a mission to heal my soul so that I could save my girls. And I would learn something, and I would try that, and I would use it, and I would apply it. And then I would find a new modality and say, okay, well, maybe this one will heal us even more. So then I would learn that one, and then I would find another one. So it was more about my quest of trying to find what would heal me. It was how I ended up with, the hypnosis, and then the Reiki, and then the Amadeus, and, to keep going down the list, all the different modalities. That's how I ended up there. It was a journey of healing.
fantastic. Yeah. So talking about journey of healing, we are joined by Caesar as well. Caesar's here. And Caesar, you wanted to introduce yourself. April just finished her introduction. Eileen is not here, so we are going to do a combination of watching the comments as well online.
Sure. Beautiful story, April. That's awesome. very touching. I was moved. My name is Caesar. I'm a channel. I don't like to classify myself as a psychic and such. However, I do provide spiritual guidance through a method of channeling. I discovered that at an early age, although I kept it to myself for many years, although my family and friends knew, and it wasn't until probably about several years ago that I opened the door to it, decided to use it to help people. And that quest continues today. So I just use it as a tool to help others. A lot of times through the messages for the others, there is a message deeply concealed within it for myself. So I usually take about 45 minutes to reboot and kind of reflect on the message, because it doesn't seem as though I know what I'm saying when I'm saying it, although I am present. I have to kind of replay the tape, so to speak, after the session is over. They usually last about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But to me, it's like 5 minutes. I never have any clue how much time passes. But it's interesting once I replay the tape and download the information that was given, because again, a lot of it was for myself. So I'm grateful and I bless that. Typically, I will be overwhelmed with gratitude at the end of the session while I'm kind of downloading the information, replaying the tape. Just that I'm able to, relay this information to people on their journeys. Most who are lost, along the way, and they just need a little mentoring, I guess, or a little guidance to just push them back on the right path. So the gratitude that comes as a result of that is beyond explanation of gratitude, and just this overwhelming feeling of pure joy and bliss and gratitude. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Caesar. He's been on that high-flying disc ever since I've known him. Always like in the morning, and I don't know, somehow we connect in the morning, he'd leave a message or a post, and this is like years, right? 4 or 5 years you've been doing this. So thank you, Caesar. We are also joined by with Michelle being here. Michelle is a member and a member of the core group of meditators. Michelle, did you want to give a quick introduction of yourself as well?
Yeah, hi everybody. So it's great to be here. I am, my role in life is actually a parent of an adult son with a disability, but I've been a follower of Eckhart Tolle for, oh gosh, I think since like 2007. And so participated in a lot of read the books and participated in some of the courses that he's offered, and just been, it's taught me so much. So I continue to read and be involved, and basically beforehand, I was working as a nonprofit, in a nonprofit, helping families that have children and adults with disabilities navigate resources in the community so that they can help their kids and their families, and help also with the school systems and making sure that they could get the supports and services that they needed to be successful in school. So, but this is like my new call. For me, this is my spiritual path has always been one of my top priorities, because this is where, you seek joy and find peace and what really matters in life. Everything else comes and goes, but that no one can take away from you. So that's my journey.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Michelle. So April, I'm going to start with, and this is a highly sensitive topic, and I want to give it its sacredness and reverence. I don't know if you remember 2 weeks back, we were talking about a healing that a woman got at Dr. Joe Dispenza's, what do you call it? Progressive workshop of some kind. And the healing that she got was she had been raped when she was young by 3 or 4 men. And she went through through that mystical experience. And during the mystical experience, and the topic of his video was forgiveness. He was talking about forgiveness, right? And what the message she heard from the divine was, I sent you however many these angels, I sent you 3 or 4 angels so that you would come to this point, experience this mystical experience. And she knew that was her purpose, is to experience that mystical experience. So I had this epiphany. You know how many, this is universal. We've talked about this. We've talked about that humans move with compulsions, right? We called it the karmic accumulation, that humans move with their compulsions. And one of the greatest compulsion in humanity, in the collective humanity, is this physical, the sex, right? To the point that we have, what do we have in collective humanity is, what do you call it? They can be incest, a brother having a relationship with a sister, or vice versa. Like Iana Van Zandt, her uncle was the one that raped her when she was 7 or 8. So it can be like an uncle, a relative as well, right? So I had this epiphany because we talk so much about soul and soul contracts. So my epiphany was, those children that go through that trauma have a lot of resentment and unforgiveness, because it is a father, or because it is a mother, or because it is an uncle, because it is a pastor. Talk about, the Catholic Church experiencing so many molestations, right? But the commonality is it is showing us a collective unconsciousness or compulsion of humans for physical intimacy. That's all it is showing us. If you look at just like I was talking about the Sandy Hook, right? It's showing us the compulsion of violence. Why do we need those big AK-47 or like big loaded guns, right? It's showing that compulsion of humans to have violence, right? So my question would be this, April. Do you see that we would have had the soul contract with that human, whether it's uncle, father, mother, brother, sister, whatever it may be, the soul contract is that we learn that lesson of forgiveness, just like what was taught in the video. That's what I picked up from the video, is to not have
Sorry, I have some distractions here. I have a grandson taking a bath and singing to himself while it's happening. So I am listening, but I have several distractions. So it is a very touchy subject, and it is a nationwide, worldwide subject. I can tell you that I have people that I work with who are in America, who are from other countries, several other countries. So I'm not going to name the countries, that I don't want to risk any identity, but it's not just here, it is everywhere. Do I think it is a collective unconscious? Yes. I also think it is, humanity is evolving. The way I see it, we are evolving. And while it's slow, we are progressing. So one of my examples is, and I don't mean anything by this when I'm saying this, but when I was a child, the whole gay thing did not exist. It did not exist. It wasn't there. And now it is here. And now there are gays that are working in the store, and it's okay. And people aren't being mean to them, and they're not for the most part. So that to me is a sign of hope. That to me is a sign that we are evolving. So do I think that abuse is part of the collective unconscious? Yes. I also think that it's part of just humans. Life was very rough. People did not talk about compassion. People did not talk about their problems. They did not seek help. They didn't take medication. They didn't do any of those things. So I think part of it, like all of the components that you said are all part of it. But in the end, there is always a bigger reason. Now, some will say, oh, you're just searching for a bigger reason because you just want to find an excuse to make everything okay. The difference is, like in my life, all the things that happened to me, when I realized there was a bigger picture, there was an answer in the bigger picture, that I had to experience those things to be and know who and what I am. That it made sense, but it felt like it made sense. It felt right. Okay. When you find that reason, that purpose, like the lady in the example with the Joe Dispenza, when she heard that message, it felt right to her. So it's more than just thinking cognitively, oh, no, it feels right. And when things feel right, then you know that you're in line with source. So that is where it tells you that, yes, it was part of your soul's plan. It was part of your contract. So for me, with all the people that have things that have happened in my life, I had many abusers in my life. What I call them, and this is one of the things, again, we're going to go back to the book, Caesar. I've always wanted to write a book and call it My Angels in Disguise. Those people are my angels in disguise. They are my gifts. Now, if you're in the midst of it and you continue to look at it through the soul perspective or the human perspective, and you continue to look at it like, how could you do that to a child? You have to be able to step aside and look at it from the soul perspective to understand that that was my angel in disguise. And I truly feel that way. And I truly don't hold any resentment. I don't hold any anger, truly. So yes, it is part of your soul's plan.
Beautiful. Thank you, April. And exactly, I was going to say that if you look from the human perspective, you go, how can that child that's 4 years old or 6 years old know any different? How can that something of that nature, that kind of trauma? But if you look at that, the soul signed up for it. The soul said, give me that challenge, because that's the contrast. I'm going to go to Caesar. That's the contrast, right? That brings that rocket of desire that I shouldn't be involved in something of this sort. And then we expand, the expansion occurs. We go towards freedom. And this is what I'm going to go to you, Caesar. Thank you, April. So you could go two ways with that, right? One way is the expansion. I can forgive this person, move towards expansion, get my freedom. I'm not locked in that victim identity, and get my freedom and continue my life and live a magnificent, unlimited life. But the second is I can become like that person. I can perpetuate that same kind of behavior. I can go molest other people, right? So there are two ways. Or I can continue that behavior by saying, I'm going to go from one partner to another partner to another partner to another partner. You want to speak to that, Caesar? There are two ways of going. And we know which one is the way that alignment with source will take us. Thank you.
And a lot of the time, having known a few people that have been in that situation who are now well into their 50s, kind of experienced a little bit of all of what you just mentioned along the way. They became that person slowly because of the resentment they held There was just so much anger and non-acceptance, which offers very much pain and suffering, that anger turned outwards onto others. So, there has to be a point where that person reaches the precipice of wanting to no longer suffer. And I can't imagine having been able, as a young child of that age, been able to learn a lesson, in their very young years, um, until at least, halfway through life, so to speak. In that, at what point does the victim say, why did this happen to me? I'm sure that was the lifelong question, but more so, what was I supposed to learn from this? And until they're able to ask that question, chances are they will be stuck in that victim identity, because there's a reason for everything. And in a nutshell, soul contract. I believe that I love the example April put there with the soul contract thing. That's beautiful, and I agree with it 100%. In that we signed up for that, to learn the lessons, to be able to expand, and grow from that, because the lessons that you can learn from such a tragic event are enormous, based on the cataclysmic size of the event. The larger the event, the deeper the suffering, the greater the lesson. It appears to be that way most of the time. Yes. So in saying that, yeah, I believe, yeah, also it is something that we definitely signed up for before we came here to take on that challenge. Perhaps it was a lesson that wasn't learned through another experience on a different timeline, and that this is the way that we're now going to learn that lesson. Perhaps it was the other way around, in a past lifetime as well, in that they were the abuser, and now this time they get to play the victim and feel that pain and be able to accept and grow in that way. So it's all about expansion in the end.
And if they were to continue to hold resentment, one would be the victim identity of holding resentment against the perpetrator. And you've replayed that event, or you've replayed like 3 or 4 of those traumatic events. Now you're 30 years later, 40 years later, you've done 30 years of repetitive every day thinking of that event. So you've repeated that event. So you're locked, you're in that prison of that event. And there's no chance of growth. That means your spirit, the soul, wanted to learn its lesson and expand. And the expansion is infinity, and you're locked. Look at how you're locked in your resistance. That is what Eckhart calls the resistance patterns of the mind. The holding on to the resentment is the resistance pattern, right?
Yeah, and even little things along the way throughout their life as a result of that. Some of the behavior is building walls to keep people out because of, they're afraid of that. And again, it's that imprisonment. You build walls, to keep people out, but you're still on the inside of that prison, like you had said. So yeah, and that will come evident, along their whole journey until they, decide to take a look within and learn that lesson.
So I'm hoping with the description that April and Caesar are providing, everybody understands the importance of forgiveness. How important, and that's why so many people who know this power, empowerment of forgiveness, say, I'm not doing it for the perpetrator, I'm doing it for myself. Because I'm free. When I forgive, I am free. I'm liberated. I am unlimited, infinite potential. I'm no longer locked in that thought process. It's just a thought formation. That resentment for your perpetrator is, and no matter, and we're using an example. I just used that example because 2 weeks back, we had used Dr. Joe Dispenza's forgiveness video as an example. So I'm just using that as a diving board. And I have that epiphany that all these incidents are just showing how much of, like, the porn industry, how much people People talk about, I'm not even ever seen those apps. They talk about something swipe right or swipe left or whatever. This Tinder, even Eckhart talks about Tinder. It's like you can just pick up somebody on Tinder, right? How promiscuous is this society? I mean, this planet. And it's not just here. It's all, like April is saying, I'm not saying it is here in the US or here in this, it's all across. If you're on planet Earth, this collective unconsciousness exists in planet Earth. And don't blame the perpetrator, end it in yourself. Do you have a compulsion towards judgment for these kind of people? If you have the compulsion to judge these kind of people, then that compulsion, you're perpetrating that compulsion. And end that compulsion. If we end the compulsion within ourselves, then we are ending it for all of humanity. If 7 billion of us end that compulsion, we are removing that pattern from the one consciousness. That compulsive pattern is gone. If 7 billion of us come to the self-realization that physical intimacy is a pattern, that we have an attraction. We look at a handsome man, a woman, I mean, if it's a woman looks at a handsome man and that attraction, if you can get rid of that compulsion, and vice versa, if a man looks like at an attractive woman and you're drawn, that pull, that compulsion is what, it's not the attraction is bad, it's the compulsiveness of it. And I'll get to other aspects as well that we are compulsive about. Michelle, did you want to say something about this topic? Thank you.
Hi, I've really enjoyed listening to April and Caesar on their views. I think when I just started reading a little bit of Joe Dispenza's work and relate in regards to the video 2 weeks ago, I think part of that compulsion, if I understood it correctly, because he comes at it from a different perspective, right? What happens with the brain chemicals, it's almost like an addiction, right? What happens is whatever chemical responses you get from addiction to cigarettes, it creates those compulsions create that addictive tendency to want to create, whether it's pain, right? Coming from that victim identity, it's almost because you've replayed that story in your mind so many times, it's like that neural pathway is hardened. And so to get out of that, you have to really analyze that and see what's happening and make a concerted effort to work through that and break that pathway. So I had never seen it from that perspective before, because Eckhart, I think, talks about it more from, the pain body and your conditioned past, but I never really thought of it like even the emotional tug of war that we have in our lives has a chemical associated with it that causes us the addiction to go back to it over and over again if we're not cognizant of it. I mean, it's beautiful to be able to say everybody becomes self-realized and not do it. And I understand the need for forgiveness for oneself, right? To unlock that prison cell for ourselves. But how do you get to the ones that perpetrate that pain? How do you, that internal work, there's the people that are perpetrating this pain are in so much pain themselves that how does the universe work through them, right? So I guess you come into this soul contract relationship and that person says, okay, I'm going to play this role in this life so you can learn this lesson. Is that, I guess, the way it goes? And then I guess that karma for that next person might be something else in their next lifetime. That part of it I'm not that familiar with, but from what I'm understanding, that's kind of the way it works. But it's, quite interesting when you hear it, when you think about it from a more consciousness perspective, versus the personality, but it takes a lot of like, really, wow, you got to really step outside of the proverbial box to be able to kind of say, okay, this is okay. And because at the end of the day, I've grown and my soul has grown. And I mean, I can see all of my own experiences while I was in the thick of it, the resentment, the anger, the why me, the victim. And that happened for a long time until I was able to kind of see it from the broader perspective and God, where am I now, you know, in this relationship with this person and with life you know, to say, okay, you know what, I would not be the person that I am today. You know, I've grown from this experience. So the pain was all worth it in the sense that I can see the bigger picture and I'm at peace. So if anything brings you to peace at the end of the day, I think that's all for the good, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We joined, Summer joined us and Nada is there. So hello, Christina and Louise are there. So let me check. Oh, Summer has a question. So let me. I'm copying and pasting the question. While you're reading the question, April, because you're next, I'll finish up what Michelle was saying. So this hardwiring that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, right, Michelle? It's more like what he says is emotions are the subconscious mind that is stored in the body. So what he says is the emotion is already there in the body. So the hardwiring is we are rewriting the memory into the body and the body will take us. So we experience the trauma and then now the body's gotten used to that pain and that sorrow and that misery and wearing that misery like a badge, right? Next day, again, we want that trauma and that we want to think of that trauma or somebody else's trauma. We want to think of Sandy Hook and the trauma, or we'll think of 9/11 and the trauma. And our body will want that. That's the dopamine fix, that it wants it more and more. And we continue that cycle until we have this other dimension, which is the mystical dimension, what Eckhart calls presence. And to that, what I would say is the way Eckhart releases us from our perpetrator, he says that human is unconscious. They don't even know what they're doing. So they're just acting out just like we were acting out and our parents were acting out. Like my mother did not even know when she was hitting, like it was like an automatic, her right hand moved automatically. Like we did one small thing and it would automatically move across our head, right? The hitting was very automatic. So that's how humans have been perpetrating unconsciousness, is they don't even know what they do. And when they don't know what they do, all we can do is have compassion that that person did not have the awareness. In that moment, maybe even we didn't have that consciousness. Nobody can act beyond their level of consciousness and accept the present moment just as it is, because it couldn't have been otherwise. That's another thing from Eckhart. Accept it, that it should have been exactly 9/11 should have been exactly how it is. There's nothing out of order. Everything that is happening, nothing out of the order. Know that to be true. And then expand. Now find your in unlimited self. Once you know that nothing is out of order, find your unlimited self. So April, you want to answer, you want to read it as well? Since I've spoken so much.
Well, I think this is partly a Kelly question, but we're going to try it. When you come back as the victim, how do you choose the time frame to come back? Do you get to choose past centuries, or is it always in the future? What will humanity look like in 1,000 years? Will it be kinder? Will older souls come back in 5th generation, or will any come back with resentment and negativity? So when you come back, how do you choose the time frame? The idea is that you can, so you know how we say that in this lifetime, this is what I'm doing, but in another lifetime, I am like some super successful businesswoman with no kids. In another lifetime over here, I'm a farmer, but all those lifetimes are happening at once. So that's the answer to that. So you don't necessarily come back like to past centuries, because actually everything is always happening right now. But what I do believe is that there is a point of focus. So this earth here is a point of focus. It is the cutting edge. It's the here and now. So you don't always, so you can choose the past, you can choose the future timeline, you can choose which timeline that you want. There is a primary focus though, and Earth happens to be the cutting edge because we are the school of like hard knocks. We are like the top school here, right? If you want the best education, you're going to jump on this little planet. So, what will humanity look like? My hope is that, like Poonam was saying, one of the reasons why there is so much abuse is, and this is probably one of my ultimate questions that I could answer it if I really wanted to, but I wrestle with often is, why the heck would I lose consciousness? But then as soon as I say that, the answer is, because if I already know the answers, how can I experience the situation? I can't actually experience something and learn it if I already know all the answers. So we lose consciousness when we come here so that we can learn or relearn or remember. But as we wake up, in 1,000 years, I think life is going to be awesome. I think it's just going to be fabulous. We are going to be much more loving, much more kind. And most of the abuse, I think, will be gone, because I even see it like now, with the younger generations, where I have to tell you, when I had my first kids, dads didn't change diapers. They didn't do that. And dads are changing diapers now, and they're pushing the stroller, and they got the daddy fanny pack. And that stuff didn't happen when I had my first kids 30 years ago. It just didn't. So I think we're doing an awesome job at evolving as humanity. It's slow, I get it, but I think we're doing a good job. And then will older souls come back in 5th generation, or will they come back with resentment? Oh, 5th, okay. Older souls still come back into a human baby body. They still have to experience life. They still have to have their life experiences. We just seem to wake up quicker. We seem to have our awakening process a little faster. So I don't want to say that older souls will come back and just be automatically more awake. But yes, Samar, as we evolve, as we re-enter Earth, we will re-enter Earth more evolved, right? More conscious, because now you're getting into, there will be different soul contracts. We won't have to learn some of all of these harder lessons because we will be evolved. The other thing too is that genetically, so you guys, you have to remember that you're a soul, but you do have a human body. We always still have a human body. That human body has those chemicals. It gets those dopamine hits. It has those emotions. So whatever it is that we are dealing with in 1,000 years, whatever life lessons, soul lessons, will still get stored in the DNA and get transferred to the next lifetime. But I would hang on to the idea that the way that we are progressing now, absolutely life is going to be better in 1,000 years. And I'm even one of those people that I can say that when I first started doing this, there were not many books on this subject. There wasn't. And now it's flooded. So it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. The E motion, energy and motion concept, that was not a thing a few years ago. Now everybody's saying it, right? So it's becoming common knowledge. When that things become common knowledge, it gets ingrained. Where we're skipping the beat is the school system. When it gets into the school system, now we're really making some headway.
Where attention goes, energy flows.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, it would seem in 1,000 years, April, we wouldn't have this dense a body. It has to lighten up. If we need to process, if we are what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, right? We are less particle and we are more wave. If we are more wave, then we cannot have this denser body. We're going to stop eating the way we are eating. We will stop eating that amount of food. We will become like a lighter body. Almost, I think whoever, James Cameron, who built Avatar, right? He directed the movie Avatar. Like, look at the bodies of those. What is his vision of that body? It's like a very lean, thin body, and they don't really eat food, right? They draw their energy from a tree, which is like connecting. That was my image of connecting to source. Like when they connected to the tree, they connected to source, and that's how they got there. So it'll be something of that nature, that maybe a small piece of fruit from a tree. There are fruit trees all around, and you just pick up a small piece of fruit, and that's enough to last you all day. It wouldn't be.
And then the thing is too, is that what we were talking about is the more that we evolve, the more that we wake up consciously, become aware, our consciousness grows and develops. Being in that victim mentality, that slows your energy down. So we can't become etheric as you do in the higher dimensions, because when you're holding on to that victim mentality, that is a slower form of energy. So you just think about it, like when you're sad and you're thinking about that situation and you're crying and you're doing this, and then as soon as you think about something happy, it's an automatic lift. Automatic. So the more that we grow, the more we evolve, then yes, our energy has no choice but to vibrate faster. No choice.
Thank you. Thank you, April, for that image. Caesar, you want to speak to Summer's question?
Sure. Great explanation again, April. Thank you. Yeah, everything is always now, even on the other side. I really adored what she said about the how everything happens simultaneously at the same time. Fully believe that to be true. To clean up the first question, I don't believe anybody comes back as a victim. I believe we come back and we enter as perfect little beings. Having said that, it perhaps becomes a situation chosen prior to our arrival that we experience that role as a victim, which gives us the opportunity to learn from it at that point. So I just don't believe we come back in any negative sense of the word. I think when we arrive, we are pure as can be. Pure light, pure energy, pure love, pure joy, pure everything, pure source. Timelines, yeah, you don't pick your timeline, it's just now. What else have we there? So, yeah, I mean, redemption, negativity. Yeah, I don't think we experience any negativity or any resentment in the beginning. Obviously, we can't, we're very small. But that would be the contrast along the journey to provide the opportunity to expand through the experience and the negativity. The resentment is a behavior because of the negativity, but again, that is the opportunity to experience the contrast and allow yourself to grow, to raise the vibrational frequency, which is usually the goal. You know, we came here to expand first and foremost because we are vibrational beings. We came here to love, enjoy life exuberantly. We don't come here to get kicked around and then drug through life and have it be a miserable experience. 90% of our life should be joyous and things of that nature. Much of it is a school. It is the playing field in which we get to experience all the joys and the pitfalls. And when you can learn to embrace the the situations that don't feel so good, that is when you know you have reached your higher self, because good comes out of that. Again, it is the contrast that allows us to be able to expand and grow in every way. So I think April took words right out of my mouth on almost every occasion there. I was thinking and she was saying it as pretty awesome. Nice job, April.
Thank you so much, Caesar. So it's not like we are born here and lifetime after lifetime we are going to, and this is something that I wanted to do a role play. Last week, April, we did from my perspective, like if I had envy and if I had like physical abuse as the condition pattern, then I would, if I unlearned it, as my soul was leaving the body, then it would get ready for the next lesson, right? So now let's take it from the reverse side, like Summer is asking, right? Reverse of the perpetrator. Now, the perpetrator has inflicted some kind of abuse. When they are going through when their spirit is leaving the body, then they're going to see the pain that they caused all their victims. They're going to experience, and that's why Sadhguru says that is, he calls it Kal Bhairavi. That is like the most painful experience. Like if you think like terminal illness or like cancer or broken bones was painful, he says your spirit leaving the body is the most painful experience because you're experiencing the pain. We are experiencing the pain and suffering because everyone from their perspective, not our perspective. And Dr. Eben Alexander has said that because he had a near-death experience. Anita Murjani has said that she's had a near-death experience. If you look at the perspective from, the description of what a person that has undergone near-death experience speaks of, that's what they're going to say, that during that final review, life review, final life review, which is when the spirit is leaving the body, is when that person is going to experience everything from their victims or whoever they were experiencing the event with, that perspective. And it happens within seconds because your soul is getting ready for the next lesson, right? Now I did this much expansion. I got rid of, let's say, one of the things I'm very happy about, my food addiction is gone. Like my chip addiction is gone, right? Out of that medical medium protocol, Like it's very easy. Oh, this has vinegar, take it off. This has this has oil, take it off my this. I cannot eat it, right? Very easy. Like the sifting and sorting through what I can eat is very easy. That it has to be natural produce, right? Natural green leafy vegetables. So compulsion is gone. Like what Michelle was saying, that what I feel is out of the diet and the supplements, that compulsive action towards food. And this is another compulsion that I wanted to bring up, because here in Texas, we have like piles of food. Like they give piles of food. You go to a restaurant, you pay $10 for a meal. They'll give you a huge pile filled with cheese, filled with oil, filled with, like French fries will be this big pile. And then they have this chili cheese French fries, right? They'll put chili on it, greasy chili. They'll put piles of cheese on it, and that's all that it's going to be. And then put bacon on it, right? Heart attack waiting to happen if you consume that plate. But that compulsion to eat is gone. So I kind of came to this second epiphany, what I talked about right in the beginning, is because of that I've learned that I've erased that compulsion towards food. Like there is no compulsion to eat that kind of food, like eat Lay's potato chips or eat fried food, which is very addictive, right? Our dopamine, the moment we eat fried food, we are rewiring our brain. We have hardwired our brain to like fried food, right? Sweets. I've not had sweets. Like so many of our festivals have come and gone, but Indian sweets are made out of milk, and I cannot have dairy. Since last year, I gave up dairy, so I cannot have Indian sweets. So I know that is the lesson that we are here to learn. Is what did Buddhists say? That desire is the cause of all pain and suffering. It's not desire, it is the compulsion towards the compulsions that exist in humanity. And if we say, oh no, it is President Trump that has that compulsion, no, we have it. Each and every one of us has it. The only thing is we have more awareness that we have that compulsion in control. But that archetype or that energy pattern is in each and every human being. So with that, Michelle, did you want to say something about what Summer has asked? Thank you, Caesar.
I think I'm going to pass because that is not in my wheelhouse in terms of, past lives and future lives. I'm just learning. So I do have a question for April in regards to learning the lesson, like when you have a soul contract and you're coming into this life and you have a lesson that you want to learn, do you also agree to how that's going to play out, in what scenario that I'm going to be a victim of child abuse or maybe abandonment, so I can learn this lesson? And where does free will fall into that dynamic?
So it gets a little tricky, and I don't know, maybe Caesar can help me out on this. The answer is yes. We do, for the most part, set up pretty much everything that is going to happen. We do set up, so you're on the other side and you're deciding to come back down to earth and have a life, because earth is the most accelerated school. So we do still learn on the other side. We continue to learn and continue to evolve and continue to grow. but here it's very accelerated. And here is also a place where one of the reasons it's so accelerated is because it's physical. So on the other side, you can't pick up that chocolate or that Indian sweet and eat it. You can you can imagine it. So like I have people that I've talked to on the other side that are past and they tell me they're golfing. Okay, so it's not like we're limited over there, but it's not the same as actually physically holding the golf club in your hand. So that is the reason we come here. And when you do come here, you and a council of guides decide what you want to learn in this lifetime. And pretty much, I have to say, across the board, most of the lessons are genuinely the same. We're here to learn forgiveness. We're here to learn compassion. We're here to learn acceptance. We're here to learn, the unconditional love. So it's genuinely the same. It will manifest in different ways. That's one of the ways that free will comes about. So it's not like literally I'm a puppet to a full extent. Somebody's just pulling my strings and making me walk across the street to get ice cream on September 8th and at 9:04 p.m. It's not. So you do have free will. But the lesson that you choose is going to happen regardless. Okay, so let's say that when I was 15, I chose not to get pregnant, but I still had to learn the lesson of self-love. I still had to learn that I was worthy and that I was important. So I might not have got pregnant at 15 and had to get married at 15 to somebody who was abusive, but some way, somehow, I would have still ended up in that dynamic because that was the lesson that was set. So I do still have free will, but most likely it gets really kind of tricky to explain. But my ex-husband, his soul agreed for me to be his wife at the same time, right? So like we're like, okay, look, we're over there, we both have to learn this lesson, we both have to accomplish these two goals. So I'm going to be your wife and I'm going to be your husband, and I'm going to be extremely abusive, and through that you're going to learn. Okay, so it's a deal. We make this deal. Now, if for some reason my life would have taken a different path, my soul would have there would have been like, so how do I say this, Caesar? Like there's a plan B, like, because you're still going to learn the lesson. You still have to fulfill the contract. But there is free will, because if I don't fulfill the contract, it gets left for the next lifetime. Right? So I don't want you to think that we don't have free will. We do have it, but yet there are certain things that are pre-planned, are pre-set up, are going to happen regardless. And, in the case of, like for me, I got all these children. I have all these children, and some of my children have disabilities. So the concept there is that in another lifetime, these children somehow took care of me. So now it is my turn to pay back. Right? But isn't it fascinating how it all kind of falls in line, because my sign is a Cancer sign, which is the mothering parent sign. It's all perfectly lined up, right? Like the Cancers are always known for family and all of that, and here I have all these kids. So The answer to your question is yes, it is set up. It is mostly set up. You do have free will, but there are certain things that are going to happen regardless.
What month is Cancer?
July,
July?
yeah, which is known for like loving family, kids, all of that. So it's just ironic that I have all these 5 kids. This is my sign, and you know, so.
Awesome. So what I would say to that, April, would be if it was another mother who had a child with disabilities, they could get into the victim story. My life is stopped and my life is arrested and I can't do, in this book, Nature, Personal Reality, Seth says, it happens to children as well. Because of my parents, I never became good enough because I had to take care of my parents. So what Seth says is, it's not the fact that you did not become good enough because of your parents, you chose your limitation, right? You said, I'm not going to be good enough because I'm taking care of my parents. The same thing can happen to the parents. They can say, because of this child, now I've lost my freedom. How many people, caregivers, go, oh, I can't ever leave the house, I cannot do this, instead of saying, so the expansion in that moment is, or your unlimited self in that moment is, I don't have to be here 100% to take care of that kid. Let me find friends, let me find family, let me find home health care, let me find another way so that I can take a few minutes in nature, or I can take an hour off. I don't have to be 100% around this person with disability, right? So that's the expansion. How the contrast was given. The contrast is the limitation in the child. And now how are we going to throw a rocket of desire, put out a rocket of desire and expand? Because expansion, and now again, one more limitation that we are thinking from our thinking mind is that planet Earth is the only place. There are multiple infinite galaxies, there are multiple infinite universes. So yeah, we are learning everything in terms of the solar system, but this Punam could be somewhere else as a man, maybe 100-year-old man on a horse fighting a battle, right? We don't know. I have not gone back, regressed back to my past life or done hypnosis to figure out what is happening with my past lives. Where am I in another universe? I know this universe, this is what I'm doing. So that's another aspect to it as well, Michelle, to your question, that we think that, again, as April was saying, right, everything is happening simultaneously. Our past life and future life is happening simultaneously. Now, what are we going to do? Free will cannot rise without presence because we are unconscious. We are going to act out the patterns of our past condition, our karmic accumulation. We are just going to keep acting it out until that other dimension. And that is why Eckhart does not give a reason why. He just says presence is the key. Presence is the key. No matter how many, you turn him around 5,000 times, he's going to say presence is the key. Turn him around another 100,000 times, he's going to say presence is the key. Because without presence power, how are we going to act different? Without knowing this, that I need to forgive my ex-husband, that shows extreme presence power on April's part, right? That he is an angel in disguise. That is free will. That's where the free choice was made. She made a different choice. Instead of taking the victim mentality of saying, oh, I've been suffering with this guy who's abusive, she said, no, I'm free. I'm connected to source. I know how to be happy. I know how to be content. I know how to be in gratitude. I know how to unconditionally love. That's all that was needed.
What happens is pretty much in this, like Eckhart's story is the same, is I reached a point where I didn't want to be miserable anymore. I didn't want to be miserable. And I had to find a way. But because he was so abusive, and he will admit that he was abusive. So even though I'm saying this and it's going on YouTube, he will admit that. So, and so I can say that, but I just didn't want to be miserable anymore. I wanted to be healed. I wanted to have peace. And that is the key to this journey. So when you want to be free, when you want to have peace, when you want to be healed, then you realize that you have to find the bigger meaning. You have to find the bigger purpose. You have to find the soul contract. You have to make sense out of it and say, why? Because before that, I certainly said, why? This always seems to be happening to me. But the reason why was because it teaches you so many things. You can't have compassion without, like Caesar said, that contrast. You can't have compassion if you haven't felt the other side, right? Me having complete compassion and understanding. Like I remember times, because we didn't have money, that I had to go to the grocery store. I could buy either milk or bread, but I couldn't buy both. I could not buy both. I was that poor. How else will I have that compassion for somebody who is poor? Because otherwise I could be this snooty person that's like, oh my God, right? I wouldn't have that compassion for those that are less fortunate if I myself had not been unfortunate, right? So it all plays out. And that is, she's right. That's where the free will comes in, is I have the free will to say, you know what? I release you. And it's okay, because when you get on this journey and you start healing, you realize that it is okay. It will be okay. You are okay. And one of the bigger things, you guys, that I used is, if source is inside of me, if God is inside of me, then there's a piece of me that was never damaged, ever.
That's what Eckhart ends The Power of Now with. My radiant essence was never touched. Can we come to that realization? Forgiveness has been talked about for 2,000 years, but people really misunderstand forgiveness. Forgiveness is to know there is nothing to forgive. Exactly what we talked about a few minutes back. It couldn't have been otherwise. It had to be the way it was, because it is. It happened that way. And it is. And the more we accept as though we chose it, the more we take responsibility, and that frees us. We say, okay, I chose it. Now let me make a different choice. I'm going to choose to get my master's. Yeah, I got abused, but I'm going to get my master's. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get a good job. I'm going to make a life for myself and serve others. I'll do something different, right? Don't get into the victim story is the essence. Thank you so much, April, for that. Louise, I'm going to read. Louise responded about this when we were talking about the interconnectedness of things. She wrote an excerpt from Stillness Speaks. She says, the interconnectedness of all things. Buddhists have always known it. Buddhists have always known it, and physicists now confirm it. Nothing that happens is an isolated event. It only appears to be. The more we judge and label it, the more we isolate it. The wholeness of life becomes fragmented through our thinking. Yet the totality of life has brought this event about. It is part of the web of interconnectedness that is the cosmos. This means whatever is could not be otherwise. It's from Stillness Speak. Related to this, during School of Awakening, I don't know if it was his last talk or something, he was explaining this interconnectedness of things. He said, one person, like they're about to leave their house and the phone rings, they pick up the phone and start talking, like it's a missed call, right? And they stop for 30 seconds and then they leave. Few blocks down, another person, they're holding a glass of water and they drop it and they stop for 30 seconds to mop up the glass of water and then they leave. And then a few minutes later, both of these have a car accident. That's how interconnectedness of things. The missed phone call was related to the glass being full and the glass falling. Everything was interconnected. Acausal events in a new earth, he calls it, and that is the awe-inspiring, mind-boggling, mind-blowing moment. The moment we realize that the fact that I dropped that's why I wait, like if anything of that sort happens, right? Like a glass falls or a bottle falls, I'll mop it up calmly and then I'll go, I don't know what this is, but there's a lesson behind it. There's a reason why that whole bottle of olive oil fell, right? There's no resistance, there's no reaction because it's interconnected. We don't know why, but it happened because it couldn't have been otherwise because it happened. And that's the acceptance as well. Caesar, you want to talk about this topic? April wanted your input.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Ironic that this is the topic here. Today I spent probably an hour talking to a couple of my employees about how we are all interconnected. And I just had brought up one of my clients' names and said I need to call him. And at that very second, he called me. And I said, there you go. It was just confirmation. There was like 4 or 5 events that happened throughout the day that they looked at me like, wow. And that's just the synchronicity of things because we are all connected without a doubt. And when you start seeing events like this take place, you start to get a clearer picture of what's really going on here. And in this statement from Stillness Speaks there, how they talk about the wholeness as being, fragmented through our thinking. It is our thinking that makes it so. We lose the big picture of the connectedness of all that is, and as such, we are a part of that. We are a part of the same energy that creates worlds, as they would say. And having said that, there, this ability that April has, that everybody has, as far as being able to telepathically deliver messages or communicate with things in the unmanifested as a result of this interconnectedness. The Russian military has used, the KGB has used telepathy in a part of their system for years. That's how real it is, this interconnectedness we speak of. Little synchronicities throughout the day, happen to all of us. And if you just pay attention to it, I'm sure everybody has the experience at least once a day about thinking about somebody and they call or something to that effect. I like to play on it all day long and just try to dance around things and see if it shows up. And I always verbalize it so my guys can see, and we kind of make a game out of it. And when this was the topic a couple of years ago, they laughed. And today it's real, and that they understand how energy and they understand this connectedness pretty well. But yeah, April summed it up very nicely.
You didn't, thank you so much, Caesar. What came to my mind was last week, Wednesday. So I don't really watch my Facebook right before this Facebook Live. And I checked it 5 or 10 minutes before my Facebook Live. And I find that everybody has canceled, like April, something is going on. Eileen was not going to be there. Kelly canceled. And I didn't know like if anybody else was going to be there. So I took my phone and immediately, like I messaged, actually, we may have gone live already because I messaged Ken and Michelle to ask them, please, can you join if you're willing to, right? Do you remember, Michelle? We started. And then I posted this back to the messenger chat on, we have, the live panel has a chat group in Messenger. I posted this back that look how divine appears in my life, that in that moment that Michelle chose to come attend the Facebook Live Q&A, she helped me because she didn't know that there was nobody on the panel. She just joined because I immediately, I saw Kelly's message, I responded to him, I said many blessings, and then there's like the inevitability of the present moment. It's like whoever, whatever they message, it's like many blessings, surrender to it. And then the next step is I messaged Ken and Michelle. Michelle joined, and I messaged Caesar and said, look, divinity appeared in my life in the form of Michelle on that day and Caesar. And Caesar says, in the morning, he thought, I have to be on the panel today. Caesar's been missing, right? You missed the week before, right? And the fact that he already had that thought in the morning that he was going to be, how important was that? And not connected events, a causal synchronicity, that he already had the intention that he was going to be on the panel. And what a beautiful evening we had last week, right? Look at how the universe responds. Like chronologically, if you think, Caesar thought of this 12 hours before, and I asked 12 hours later, but in the timeless realm, it's happening at the same time. If anybody can fathom this, it's just happening right then. It'll give us goosebumps.
I have to share a story, Quinn.
Sure. Thank you.
And it's all related to this group. So yesterday I wasn't able to moderate, right? And I was going on a hike, 13 hours, to the highest peak in East Tennessee. That's where I'm at. Mount LeConte, which is a real big, strenuous hike. I hadn't done it in years, but I was trusting that I could do it. And I was so exhausted, and you meet people along the way. So on the way down, maybe I have about 2 miles to go. And I'm just like, I want to get out of the forest before it hits dark, and it's already getting there. We meet a family and we just start talking because you meet hikers along the way. And they are, they're saying, should we go up to Mount LeConte? And goes, no, you shouldn't go up now. It's too late. It's going to get too dark and you have kids and, it's not safe. So we started our descent. They said, thank you. And then they kind of caught up with us and we started talking. I noticed that they were speaking Spanish. I speak Spanish. So where are you from? Oh, I'm from, he asked me, I didn't ask him. I go, I'm from Florida. Where are you from? Oh, I'm also from Florida. What city, whatever, we exchanged. He goes, but goes, where I'm originally from? I said, no. And we're talking in Spanish. He goes, I'm from Argentina. I said, really? I said, you're going to have, wait, it gets better. And he goes, you're going to have to tell me, you're going to have to come and visit this mountain, which is really popular there, which is the highest peak. Meanwhile, I've just come down from Mount LeConte, which is our highest peak. And I go, what city are you from? And I'm not going to say the name of the city because I want to keep privacy. And it ends up being the same town that Christina is from. So I chatted Christina. I actually talked to Christina today. I said, this is just too unreal that this is happening. I'm in East Tennessee, let alone meeting an Hispanic family, let alone from Argentina from the same time. I said, okay, this is the universe telling me that I'm aligned with what I'm doing. And it was beautiful because you recognize, I mean, that wasn't a whisper. To me, that was like a shout, right? Of the universe. And then we're talking about this tonight. So it's beautiful. I mean, just the way it all works, if you can see through it and not just call it a coincidence, because, you know, nobody wants to believe that we have access to this, you know. So I just wanted to share that story because to me, it was just amazing how that all just came together. And it was beautiful to share it with her and with the group, so.
It's incredible. Like if we reside in that connection to the divine, then it's incredible. The other example I can give that happened recently was we've set up a workshop for September 18th and 19th, and I use a platform called Mastermind. The workshop had it has an amount that you have to pay to sign up for the workshop. So when I had set it up a couple of months back, the only option I had was, Caesar says planetary intelligence, yes, universal intelligence. The only option I had was to set up a payment, like you had to pay for it. So if I needed to give scholarships or something, I would have to pay that amount to give that scholarship, right? So last week I was messaging a member back and forth, and I was trying to pay for them. And that whole logistics, right? How do I pay for them? And then they sign up for the workshop. I go to the platform and I log in. No, actually, I went to their Facebook group. I check it a few times just to inspire others. I'll just say a few words and log off. And I go there and somebody says, oh, there's something called discount coupons and modules now on the platform. And I go, let me go check. What is this discount coupons and modules? And I figured out a way to set up discount coupons where we were able to offer the workshop. I mean, I have not written to Mastermind support team to say, hey, can you set up discount coupons? It just happened. And that's how the universe works. So I think we are almost hour 20 minutes. Hi there. I think this is a great way to stop. What do y'all think? It's a good point to stop.
Yeah, the theme here was that the universe is always in full support of everything everybody always does. For sure.
Very much so. There's an interconnect, why each one of us is here. And that's why everyone is held with a great amount of reverence, whether it's Kelly, whether it's Travis, whether it's Ryan, even if they're not here, everybody, like, I have this reverence because I don't know why I connected to that soul. Why did April post one day on our Facebook Live and say, I want to be on the panel? And I said, direct message me, I'll talk to you. And she said, yeah, I'm willing to be on the panel. Why did that happen? I have no idea, but she's here and we love it. We love her. So that's how it works, right?
And that's part of that free will too. So if you are meant to, part of your plan is meant to be a teacher, you know, I mean, Poonam, she could have picked Joe Dispenza. She could have picked Wayne Dyer. She picked Eckhart, but that's her role, is to be a facilitator, to be a teacher. So you have free will in that area too, but ultimately you're meant to be a teacher. So that's another way that you do have some free will. But the goal is you have to be a teacher. You have to be a spiritual teacher somehow.
Somewhere.
But you can pick, yeah.
And I'm sure all of us will evolve. We will evolve and become our own teacher, just like Eckhart evolves. But the evolution is the excitement. The evolution is the enthusiasm. That's the other part I want everyone to know is your expansion, your joy how you experience gratitude, the scale to which you can go is infinite. So just keep expanding, just keep going to what is my next step? What can I do more for others? How can I be of service to another? How many more people can I touch? How many more people can I smile at? How many more people can I talk to? How many more people can I respond to? And you'll get there, right? So grateful, Michelle, Caesar, April. It always is mind-blowing when y'all are here. So amazing, eternally grateful. And to everyone out there, Nada, Summer, Christina was there, Louise, Mike, thank you so much for being there on the Facebook Live. Many blessings. Have a wonderful evening. Much love. Good night.